We're talking about the XRP Bullrun and a little bit of chaos that's taking place not just here in America, but across this planet. We continue to pray for peace while we manage our investments, run our businesses, and do what we can to take care of our families. It's a simple program over here. I'm just a regular guy that comes on and shares the breakdown of the current events, financial markets with a focus on cryptocurrency being the greatest opportunity in this great transfer of wealth that we are not just witnessing, but hopefully partaking in as well. Now, I did make a couple adjustments to my microphone, and I'm hoping that we're coming through loud and clear tonight. Hopefully the stream won't have any issues. We've had a couple issues the last go at it, which is not a proper word or way to say that, but the last few streams we've had some issues. So I'm hoping that we're coming through loud and clear. I'm hoping that the aliens don't come and snatch me up. We've seen some crazy things happen here lately. But I thought that we had a nice tweet here from our good friend JB XRP. I got to meet this gentleman in Vegas, and I think that he sets the tone for tonight. While the rest of America is being divided again, I'm trying to see which asset in my portfolio needs more attention. Hashtag locked in. I gave him the 100 and the salute. Huge shout out to Jay. Got to meet him in Vegas and a bunch of the XRP family down there and at all of the conferences that we go to. As we get started here tonight, I wanted to plug the next conference that I'm going to be attending. This one's a freebie. You can get in there for free. We love that. And the VIP tickets, they do charge for those, but they're currently sold out right now. This is going to be a big conference this year, and that's the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. I have it linked down below in the description of this video. Absolutely free to attend. Jay Martin, the host of this conference, I'm actually going to have him on my show next week, and so I'm going to be interviewing him. But you got legendary investor and basically CEO in the space, Ross Beatty, Robert Kiyosaki, Douglas McGregor, Nomi Prinz, Mark Moss. They do let in some of the Bitcoin bros. Mark, I got to meet Mark last year. We had a good conversation until I mentioned XRP, and then he didn't really like it. Rick Rule, I've had him on the show, legendary investor. And just the stacked lineup, our good friend Andy Sheckman too. If you guys need precious metals from Andy Sheckman, he's our source for that. Other than getting precious metals in your 401k, or sorry, your retirement account, not your 401k, your IRA with our sponsor, iTrust Capital. But guys, linked up down below is the link for the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. I was talking with the team, and it sounds like they're going to have about 10,000 people is what they're expecting. So this should be a massive, massive conference compared to the last few years. And the whole reason I'm there is because fundamentally speaking, the commodities still have a lot of upside. We've seen tremendous gains on all of them. Gold at all-time highs, silver at all-time highs. Copper, I think, is all-time high as well too, or close to, and breaking out, along with some of the other metals there as well. And then all of these companies that are in the building present a very, interesting opportunity to invest in the companies, the picks and the shovels per se. And so that's why I get in that room to find more opportunities. We're not just here for XRP. We talk about other cryptocurrencies. I just did the interview with the CEO of Zebek this morning. If you guys missed that one, definitely check it out. Last year when I found Zebek, it was just a momentum trade for me. It was just following some, hype, excitement, and it had a good enough story. But then I come to find out this year I go back to look at Zebek, pleasantly surprised with what they accomplished in 2025. The numbers are staggering as far as their payroll numbers. I think they were at almost $500 million. They have almost 20 chains that they've connected for their credit cards and I guess debit cards. I guess it's their whole card program. But almost 20 chains connected and dozens of cryptos that you can use with their cards. So I was really surprised to see how well they did in 2025. And then speaking with their CEO, Simon Babakani is how you pronounce his last name. Very smart guy. And I could tell that he's completely locked in. And the reason why I made a little bet on this crypto ZBCN is because it allows me to diversify in another utility, in another problem that needs to be solved. DLT presents a nice answer, a nice solution. In this case, it's payroll. They have the cards, and they've been doing a bunch of buybacks. And then last year when I bought Zebek, one of the things that I pointed out was that their token unlocks were set to end in March of this year. And so they did an updated tokenomics this year. And the updated tokenomics didn't introduce any new tokens, no new token unlock schedule. They didn't mess that up at all. So they're done with the token unlocks here in 2 months. And then they are just adding more utility for the token. That was their updated tokenomics, right? Which was such a breath of fresh air when you're so used to seeing all these crypto projects updated tokenomics and they launch a new token, they rug pull you, they do something stupid. We're so used to it in this crypto space, and so I was pleasantly surprised with their updated tokenomics and all of the utility that they're requiring their payroll customers to pay in ZBCN for all of the payroll solutions and products that they offer. And so the client can pay in stablecoins, but then it's immediately converted to ZBCN, bringing that utility and usage back to the token. And then as far as institutional clients, they have 250 enterprise clients. Most of their clients are under NDA, is what Simon said. So he wasn't able to name off that many, but he did give us one example. And I just encourage you guys to go check out that interview. After you watch that interview, go check out the tokenomics update that they just did. You'll understand why I just bought back into Zebek, right? Last year I bought it, I sold it. It was a trade. This time around, I'm, going to trade some, sure. But right now, I'm just watching this project. I'm very interested to see what they can do. And it just comes back to this multi-chain world, this multi-chain reality, this multi-chain internet of value that we're investing in. A lot of people mistakenly think that we're just XRP maxis here, and all we do is pump XRP. And some guys, that's the only game that they have. That's the only sauce that they're serving up, and it's tainted sauce at that, at best. And it's XRP hopium and narratives and nothing more. And I love XRP hopium, but I want it to be backed by fundamentals, data, and real analysis, and that's what distinguishes us from some of the other pretenders out here in this space. And we're just going to continue to stick to our program in 2026 because we're having tremendous success. And I just want to say thank you to our community for, helping us out by liking our content, sharing it out far and wide. All of our community resources are available at zachrector.com. And I did want to let everybody know about a community resource that I think you got to get done, which is the legal and estate planning. Okay. And so a lot of us are trained to, push this off. We procrastinate when it comes to these things. Oh, we can take care of it down the road. But I do encourage you guys to get someone within your team, build out a relationship now. And, I have the privilege of knowing a lot of lawyers. It's a nice spot to be in when you can call up multiple lawyers for advice at any time. And so, I have my red folder right here, right? And we talked about the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit ad nauseum. I'm very glad that we don't have to talk about that anymore. But then this is my revocable trust that I had KKOS lawyers do. And I wanted to show you guys, they're linked up down below, the legal and estate planning. And this, mine isn't even that complex, but they still were very thorough in what they put together here in this binder. And so, I got my red folder, good friend Jimmy Valley. I got the blue binder right here for the revocable trust. And then, we have some other lawyers that we work with as well, because you just got to protect your business. You got to protect your family, and you got to protect your estate. And we live in a very litigious society. That's an issue. But then also a lot of us are building out significant wealth, right? If you're here listening to my channel, you're here to build wealth, not just get rich quick and go rent a little whippy whip and play around out here like some of the folks that we see. We're here to build wealth for our families. And so get in touch. We got them linked up down below, the legal and estate planning link. And then it'll take you to this Calendly link right here where you can book a 15-minute referral interview. This is with KKOS lawyers, and I have them do most of my, all of my estate planning, all of my legal and estate planning. When it comes to the legal, aspect of it, you want to have lawyers for each type of, issue that could be presented to you, right? Whether it be protecting the estate, whether it be for your business, there's many other things and reasons why you want to have good professionals on your team. And so, I have the privilege of just having a stacked lineup around me. It's a very, very good spot to be in. And it's a pleasure to be able to call these guys my friends, But I wanted to let everybody know, if you're looking for legal and estate planning, get in touch with the team there, KKOS Lawyers. Go check out the interview that I just did with Mark Kohler. He lays it down very simple and straight to the point. No BS. He's not here to sell you on any BS programs and models. And he's been in the industry for 25 plus years, so he's seen it all come and go. All sorts of not so great stuff that's sold to, and I've already seen it being sold to our community. And so I just wanted to point out that we got that linked up down below. Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. I tapped in that one. I wanted to mention the legal and estate plan as well too. Make sure you guys get that covered, because you don't want to be trying to get all this stuff done while you're, trying to figure out what to do with these assets while they're, melting faces and hitting new all-time highs and we're in peak euphoria. Have a plan now. And it's great when you can have a relationship with these guys, call them up right away and take care of business. Okay? So with that being said, guys, everything else is at zachrector.com. Let's get into it. Why did I title it XRP Bullrun Chaos? Tonight's live is titled that because we're in the middle of an XRP bull run, and we're also in the middle of chaos. It's that simple. And some people might be saying, we're not in a bull run, we're down. It's, coming back down here the past 2 days. After it ran up 30%, it comes down a little bit. Everybody starts to freak out. But really, the market's pulling back because it got a little hot. And then we also have uncertainty that is arriving. It is now being reported that the Supreme Court is going to be ruling on President Trump's tariffs tomorrow. And I talked about this about a month or so ago, and even a little bit before that too, about how this was a potential black swan, in the batters, but not in the batter's box. What's the, I'm so out of sports now. I'm starting to get back into sports a little bit because my kids are playing now. Not the dugout. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting. Not the batter's box. Somebody help me out. On deck. We line up all of these black swan scenarios on deck. Yeah, not the penalty box. There's some people that need to be in the penalty box. But on deck, warming up, right? All these black swan scenarios. And one of them is this Supreme Court ruling that apparently is going to come down tomorrow. Now, there's a lot of debate, right? A lot of people are saying that if the tariffs get struck down, it's going to be good for the markets, because when the tariffs were implemented, it was bad for the markets. That would make sense. That's conventional thinking. I would argue that the markets want certainty more than they care about anything else. I honestly, as crazy as it is, our market doesn't even care about war as long as we have clarity about what the war is. That's how upside down our markets are. When we get bad jobs data, just like we got today, and we get a big jobs report tomorrow as well too, so it's a double whammy. We got the unemployment rate, and then we also have the Supreme Court that's going to be giving this ruling. So it's a double whammy tomorrow. But this market's so upside down that when we get bad jobs numbers, the market pumps because it expects the Fed to ease up conditions. It's inverse. And, just like with the war scenario, and just like with tariffs here, I think that the markets just want certainty. And so if the Supreme Court rules that they are valid and that the tariffs can stay, I think the market rips. I don't think that it comes back down in that scenario. I mean, maybe briefly, but I do think that it'll continue to the upside because we'll have clarity that they're legal and we've already digested the tariffs. There's no more scaring us, right? And there's nothing taking place that shows us that Trump is going to, take the tariffs back up 100% or to the levels that they were at. Most of these tariffs were used to bring these countries to the table to negotiate trade deals. And so the markets want certainty more than anything. We could be going through World War III, but as long as we're clear about it, markets probably will do fine. That's how crazy it is out here in these markets. We have grown so numb to all of the chaos taking place around us that the markets really don't care. And so there's two scenarios that I see playing out. Either we're going to get hit with some sort of black swan, and it could be the tariffs being invalidated or struck down as illegal. Doesn't mean that Trump won't still be able to implement them. He'll have workarounds, but this could stop them. And that would cause a lot of uncertainty because people wouldn't be sure how that unwinding of all those tariffs and all that revenue that we collected, how do you send that back out, or how do you unwind that? That uncertainty would crash the markets. We also have a situation in Iran, right? One of the biggest uprisings that we've seen in the region in probably decades taking place right now. And there's real talk of them overthrowing the existing party that's in control. And it's a tinderbox, right? So that is another black swan scenario as well. And then we are also watching, right, here in the Iran situation, massive crowd comes out in Tehran, nationwide internet blackout reported. Apparently, Elon is already beaming down the Starlink and bringing internet back to them. More than 340 protests have taken place across all of Iran's 31 provinces. We got 34 protesters and 2 officers killed, with over 2,000 arrests reported. And so that's getting a little hot out there. Russia launches Orshanik intermediate range ballistic missiles at the outskirts of Lviv, Ukraine. Sorry if I butchered that. I meant to look up the pronunciation on that Ukrainian city before I went live, because people love to correct me if I pronounce anything wrong. And so, point being, right, it's hot out here right now. It's hot out here. There's a lot of chaos unfolding. So there's 2 scenarios. We get hit with the black swan and we get a V-shaped recovery, just like we did in 2020. Or we don't get hit with it, right? And we will continue to the upside. Why? Well, the data points that I'm going to share with you next tell us why and how they're going to juice these markets, and assets are going to head in one direction primarily. Take a look at it. Trump says he's instructing unnamed representatives to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds in a bid to narrow mortgage spreads and bring down rates. President Trump wants to lower housing in this country. He's demanding Fed Chair Powell get out of here, lower rates in the meantime. And then they're really, the way that they're now running Fannie and Freddie too, and what they're doing with this program, who's going to show up and be those representatives? We don't know. Where's the money going to come from? Apparently, Fannie and Freddie has a strong balance sheet. We'll see. But at the end of the day, it's stimulus. It is stimulus hitting our economy. You want to see more stimulus? Don't call it quantitative easing, even though that's pretty much exactly what it is. We have the Fed just flipped the switch, $8.16 billion into the system today, with a scheduled $40 to $80 billion per month to follow. Last time the Fed's balance sheet doubled, mid to small caps and alts exploded up to 1000x. QE, not QE, has arrived. Millionaires will be made overnight. That's a little hypey on that post, but it gets the point across, which is the Fed balance sheet has flipped. Take a look at it right here. That's without a doubt. Zoom in on that a little bit for you guys. There you go. If you haven't already, please help us out by liking this video and sharing the stream out. We greatly appreciate that. It's not just the Fed coming back with quantitative easing, it's also the Treasury. U.S. Treasury buybacks $2 billion of their own debt. We're tracking this on a daily basis. Is the Treasury doing buybacks? It's the Fed with reserve management. Don't call it QE, right? And then now you have President Trump saying that we're going to do $200 billion of mortgage-backed securities, or mortgage bonds, I should say. And all of this is some form of easing. It's some form of stimulus. It's some form of liquidity injection. And this is why you have to own assets. No matter whether you like Trump, don't like Trump, whether you're frustrated with Congress, smash the like button if you're frustrated with Congress right now. No matter if you're in a good mood or a bad mood, do you own the assets that are going to go ballistic in this environment that we've now entered, where the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, is going to be gone? We're going to have President Trump implementing new policies with his chosen Fed chair. We already have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent working right there with President Trump, and they are continuing the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. A long, drawn-out plan that, if you don't get on the right side of, is going to be once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you do not want to miss. Now, if you want to put a number to this and you want to quantify how big this transfer of wealth is going to be, how big the addressable market is for cryptocurrencies. Take it not from me, take it from the former chairman of the CFTC. Well, actually currently acting and now heading to MoonPay. Carolyn Pham. Quadrillions. That's where this goes. Not billions with a B, not trillions with a T, quadrillions with a Q. With a Q. Why 2026 is the year of institutional adoption for crypto, digital assets, tokenization, and blockchain infrastructure. That was recorded back in 2025 and also has the Yuval Ruse, who is the co-founder and CEO at Digital Asset, which is the company that is developing the Canton network. And so you guys have heard me lately, if you've been paying attention, right? I mentioned that I picked up a little bit of Canton. So I just picked up some Canton. I just picked up some Zebek. Both of those positions were picked up on Caleb and Brown. They got the best liquidity, transparent fees, no withdrawal limits, no withdrawal fees. And so for trading going forward, that's where I'm moving. That's linked up down below. Caleb and Brown, free account, free institutional grade custody, best service in the business, right up there with iTrust Capital, our sponsor. And so for me, it's the trifecta of KKOS lawyers for estate planning, legal and estate planning. Check that off. For investing in your retirement funds, you get the IRA at iTrust Capital, and then for trading, I go to Caleb and Brown. That's the trifecta for me. But we're talking about quadrillions, folks. That's how big this market is. We're seeing the quantitative easing or various forms of it showing up. And at the end of the day, what we're looking at here for the crypto space is fundamentals that just continue to get more strong. In the meantime, though, if we get black swan, do you know what happens to crypto? How do you avoid getting liquidated? Well, don't over leverage yourself, or don't leverage yourself at all. Right? My XRP and the rest of my crypto portfolio is all without leverage. I have a very small percentage of my portfolio, about 6%. Actually, yeah, because my futures trade, my XRP long has grown substantially. So it is about 6% of my overall portfolio right now. But the rest of my portfolio, 94% of it, no leverage. So nuke the markets all you want. I'll just figure out how much money I can throw at these assets and buy more, right there with the rest of you guys as well. Right? They can divide this country. They can divide our world. They can, I don't care what they do. The fundamentals will not change. Obviously, let me clarify. I do care what they do. I want peace. I don't want them to do some of these things that are taking place. But as just a regular guy here sitting in America, figuring out what can I do for my family, I'm going to be buying as much of these assets as possible because we're talking about quadrillions for addressable market. We're talking about a record year, 33 trillion in stablecoin transaction volume in 2025. Where do we see growth right now in stablecoins? Well, ROUSD is slowly creeping up, man. Moving quickly, actually. 2 mints of 20 million ROUSD each on the XRP ledger. You have to understand, these stablecoin flows would otherwise be flows of liquidity and fiat that wouldn't be hitting any distributed ledger technology, right? If we didn't have these stable coins coming on chain, all of these flows of liquidity would stay off chain, and we wouldn't get to see any of that appreciation, any of that utility, any of that liquidity coming on chain. It's why ROUSD was so big specifically for the XRP ledger. And so I'm very excited to see Ripple has been burning a lot of ROUSD on Ethereum, because most of their ROUSD has been minted on Ethereum. And it's great that they did it on both chains, because we want to have that interoperability. That's absolutely critical. But the interoperability on Ethereum, great start, but now we're starting to see ROUSD on the XRP ledgers catching up. They're burning on Ethereum, they're minting on XRP, and that's great to see. Now, next, I wanted to share this one with you guys. Evernorth has entered a strategic collaboration with Doppler Finance to advance institutional liquidity and treasury use cases on the XRP ledger. Together, we're exploring structured frameworks for deploying XRP at scale. It's pretty exciting stuff, and Doppler just put out this today. Vault APR update, 3.3%. This is the same as the week before. They're doing these weekly distributions on their vault. Now, I was going to move in on this and try it out for you guys and tell you how it was going. The nice thing is that they're publicly reporting it, right? So there's no guessing, right? They're putting it all out here for us all to see, which I really appreciate the way that Doppler is doing this. They're putting out transparency reports. I talked to Max at the at Ripple Swell conference too, and I urged him to get more transparent, to come on my show. And I think that is, in the works right now. They were waiting to announce this partnership with Evernorth, and then I knew that he wanted to come on my show after this was announced. And so very happy to see this now confirmed, which is a partnership with the biggest digital asset treasury company that's holding and building and running infrastructure, investing in the XRP ecosystem, Evernorth. So Doppler, huge shout out to them. I was skeptical at first, as I am, and as we all should be. We all should start at a point of, I don't trust you. This is my word of advice to the XRP community. And broadly speaking, in these markets as a whole, especially crypto. Started out at a place of, I don't trust you. You're probably trying to screw me over or take my money in some form or fashion. When that's the basis starting point of your relationship with somebody in crypto, it protects you. And then what you come to find out is that 9 out of 10 people are trying to screw you over or sell you some crap. And then the 1% that are for real, you weed them out, right? And you know what questions to ask them. You watch their response. You see how they handle a little bit of pressure. And you get to see who folds out here. And most of these guys do fold because they're not real business people. A lot of these devs, they can cook up some code and dev and cook. But when it comes to real business and applying a little bit of pressure, these guys fold in an instant. Especially if you know what questions to ask them. And we've never been afraid to ask the questions. And when we don't get the answers, that's when where there's smoke, there's fire, isn't there? And so it's been interesting to watch all of these providers coming out. The fact that Evernorth is now partnering up with Doppler, that says a lot to me. And so I was going to throw some money at them, but currently U.S. clients or U.S. investors are not able to access their platform. Guys, I just have one more thing that I want to cover, and then I want to get to Q&A. What are we at on time? 27 minutes. Okay. I wanted to go 17 minutes with the update, but here we are. We're going to wrap it up in about 30, and then I'm going to open it up for Q&A. And I'm going to try to keep tonight's show at about an hour in length. So we're going to do about 30 minutes of the update from me, and then we'll go 30 minutes of rapid fire Q&A. So get your questions and comments ready to go. But here's the last thing I wanted to touch on. Florida introduces a bill to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, allowing up to 10% of key public funds to hold Bitcoin in ETFs. And so they're joined by Texas and a few other states that are rolling out these strategic reserves. Of course, I'm reporting this from Bitcoin Magazine, which always takes out and reports that these are, strategic Bitcoin reserves. Not the case. None of them. In fact, all of these bills that I've read, none of them even mention Bitcoin. None. And so it's just typical misinformation from Bitcoin Magazine. That publication has been one of the worst. We've been calling them out for years. And that mentality has also been holding back our broader space. This only Bitcoin mentality that these Bitcoin maxis have. It's holding back our entire space. Now, the reason why they can kind of get away with it right now is because with all of these bills, most of them have this rule for what assets can be added to the strategic reserve. Now, let me show you right here. If you take a look at this line right here, line 3, market capitalization requirement. To be eligible to be purchased for the reserve, a cryptocurrency must have an average market cap of at least 500 billion over the most recent 24-month period. Now, interesting enough, Bitcoin makes it, and that's the only asset right now that has held a market cap over 500 billion for the past 2 years. So the way that a lot of these are being structured, it is, not inclusive of other projects that are smaller. I think that is a mistake in the way that it is being drafted. I understand the need to want to put in some, kind of boundaries and guidelines for what assets should be included, right? We shouldn't be adding meme coins to the reserve, but you also have to recognize the space has been held back significantly. A lot of these projects are going to go to $500 billion market caps. And even Ethereum right now is not over a $500 billion market cap. If you take a look right now, here's the Ethereum market cap chart. It's at 375 billion. So the last time that this sucker was above 500 billion was back here in October. It, briefly went up, and then once again in October, and then it was above all through going back to August. So you had a period there of a few months where it was above 500 billion. But for the most part, Ethereum has been under a $500 billion market cap. Briefly peaked up here in 2021. But if you look at Ethereum right now, this would not be able to be added to the reserve of most of these states in the way that these bills are structured. Now, what does XRP need to do to get to a $500 billion market cap? It needs to do 287% roughly from the price level that we're at right now. We're at 128 billion. And so we measure that percentage-wise to get to, yes, somebody asked me, Zach, is that a one high fade with a nice trim on top? Yes, it is. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And shout out to my barber. My barber, he's an XRP guy, and I've really enjoyed going to his shop for the past year. No more Great Clips hack jobs. Shout out to Great Clips. They would hack me up. I would just always get a kick of what they would do. But anyway, shout out to my barber. He's a real one, and he's invested in XRP too. So we always talk shop while we're in there. It's a good time. But back to the charts, guys. Here we're looking at XRP. 128 billion is our current market cap. To get up here to 500 billion to be included, right, we need 287% upside. And then it says that it has to hold that level on average for the past 24 months or 2 years. So just by pumping up to that level, we wouldn't be able to be included in a lot of these strategic reserves. We need to get to that level and then hold it for 2 years, or at least average out above that for 2 years. And what does that look XRP price-wise? Well, we take a look here at the XRP price chart. We're at $2.12 right now, and we need to move up about 286%. That takes us to an $8.20 XRP. Now, there is one caveat to this, which is as more tokens come into circulating supply, we wouldn't need to go to such a high price to reach that $500 billion market cap, because market cap, you guys would know, we've been breaking this down for you, the difference between market cap and the market cap multiplier, two different equations, but market cap's very simple. Circulating supply of tokens, last traded price, that gives you the market cap, right? You multiply those two together. Total circulating supply, last traded price gives you market cap. And so right now we're at about 60 billion XRP circulating. And if that increases, and right now it's increasing at about 300 million per month. And so, we're going to be increasing that number. And so as it correlates to the price chart, for XRP to get to a $500 billion market cap, right now it would need to go to 820. If we get more tokens in circulation, it wouldn't need to go as high because there's going to be more tokens. That should be simple enough for everybody to understand. But it's an $8 XRP. Let's just round off and make it simple for everybody's understanding at home. That's going to happen. 100%. 100%. Ripple will do what it takes to make sure that this asset can be included in those strategic reserves. Because this is a legislation that we're seeing drafted across the states, but we're also seeing it drafted across countries around the world as well. Sovereign wealth funds as well. It's going to happen. Guaranteed. 100%. Ripple and everybody else who's building on the XRP ledger, but primarily Ripple, we understand the role that Ripple plays here in our ecosystem, and that kind of scares some people away. We've always said that Ripple is a responsible custodian of the new reserve currency. Some people disagree with that. We just say, hey, it might not be the timeline that we want to be on, but eventually the destination that we're going to is a nice place to be at, especially if you've picked up large amounts of XRP. And so It's going to happen. 100%. And this is why I titled tonight's video XRP Bull Run, is because I want to remind everybody that we're in the middle of a bull run for XRP and for a few other assets as well in the digital asset space. This is not the participation trophy bull run of 2021. This is not the typical 4-year cycle that we've lived through in the past. This is not a normal investing environment, even outside of crypto. When you look at the stock market, when you look at commodities, when you look at the wars taking place around the world, when you look at the tariff wars that are now being introduced, all of this chaos creates an environment that's not normal. You need to lean into that. And in crypto, you need to be able to stomach huge drawdowns and crashes and liquidation events that take place between here and our final destination, which is a double digit, and eventually I even think a triple digit XRP. But it is my opinion, after seeing so many of these states draft up this legislation that requires the assets to have a 500 billion market cap, that you're going to see XRP not only go up to that level, but maintain that level. And that could very well play out how we've been, speculating, where XRP is going to go up into double digit territory, right? 10, 20 bucks, and then come back down, but still establish a floor price that would be above $8 and that would be above that $500 billion market cap, at least to see it averaged out over that time, right? And for a lot of us that have been in the XRP community, I think it comes back to an understanding, if they've been able to keep it suppressed for this long and control it for this long, one would assume that when it's time to let it fly, when it's time to let it breathe, it's going to happen. And it's going to happen faster than most people are prepared for. And so right now, let's take a look at the XRP chart. As we record this update, XRP in the broader market did pull back, a liquidity sweep down here to 206 for XRP. And we pop back up here. Right now we're at 212, still holding above $2. And so we'll just wait to see what happens over the next 24 hours. The Supreme Court's going to give us the ruling. We pulled right back to my fibs here. Healthy correction for Bitcoin. Liquidity sweep back down below 90,000 that didn't last long. Here we are back up at 91.2. And so, these market makers got this market so dialed in right now that the institutional money's here. The market makers have fully entered the digital asset space, not just for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but for XRP and others as well. You did see that we tracked a first day of outflows. It was primarily and exclusively 21 shares. They must have just bought more XRP than they were able to sell or have demand for with their ETF. And so there were some outflows of the 21 shares ETF yesterday that officially gave us a day of outflows. But if you look at it, it was just 21 shares was over collateralized as they started out with over 100 million XRP to get started. Now, obviously, there wasn't enough demand for that, which is a data point that we should consider, right? We would rather have seen demand for that. So that, it is a data point to consider, but we're in a scared market, right? We are in we just went through probably the last shakeout. I hesitate to use those words because everybody wants to pin it down. And then if you get like a 5% pullback, oh, you said last shakeout, you said last pullback. No, what I mean is the last real coordinated manipulation event and max pain 3 months of suffering from October 10th until the new year, right? October, November, December, it was crush the crypto space, manipulate the crypto space. Morgan Stanley, former Morgan Stanley division, MSCI, that rates the indexes and which is included in the index funds and which is not, they put out this guidance that they're going to pull the digital asset treasury companies like MicroStrategy and others. That causes the largest liquidation event in the history of cryptocurrency by a factor of 9x. And then we go through 3 months of suffering and bleeding out. Right after that, Morgan Stanley comes out and says, hey, we have a Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana ETF if you guys are interested. And that's who we're dealing with right now. Okay? And so, as I said earlier, very firm that we either are going to see a V-shaped recovery off of Catalyst, Black Swan, whatever it's going to be. I'm telling you right now, it has to be a massive thing that drops. Like, I don't want to speak it into existence. I don't even want to speak on it. I'm praying for peace. But a big bomb has to drop. A big catalyst has to drop. We saw the market get a little bit spooked today. Oil's moved up to like $58. It did nothing. It really did nothing. I'll pull it up right now on the oil. Yeah, it went up to not even 59. Went up to 58.74. So no spike there. Watching silver's at 76. Gold's at 4,400. But our market has become so numb to this chaos that we just don't care. You know, I joke about the alien invasion and how I'm going to be buying the dip on the alien invasion. But I used ridiculous examples to get my point across. And the point being, we have to have reality as we know it stop for this market to have the big crash that I think people are so hell-bent on seeing, right? And the bears got very excited there for a while when the market was drawing down through October, November, December. And then it literally was 5 days of price action to the upside. And then the bears, go away. And there's still a few out there that are still standing to it. I shared BC Backer's chart on my update earlier today. He's following a fractal that's an old fractal from 21 or 22 when, we did a bull trap rally and then fell off to the other side. If we do see that, as I said, we get a V-shaped recovery just like in 2020 because they're ready to flip back QE. They're ready to drop rates a lot further. They're rolling out new programs just like they did in 2020. This is a new reality. President Trump doesn't care. Whether you like him, hate him, it doesn't matter. He doesn't care what you think about him. He's going to do what he thinks is best. And that includes $200 billion to go buy mortgage bonds. That's a version of stimulus. That's liquidity coming into our system to keep things propped up and going. And so if a big one drops or a big catalyst hits, what do you think they're going to do? Is that the end of the world? That's the end of the markets? We go into depression for 10 years? I don't see it playing out like that. I don't even see a big drawn out one. Our markets are so responsive right now. With all of our algorithms and people have 5,000 indicators to watch these markets with all these algorithms that they use to trade. As soon as it shows on CNN, the aliens have arrived, the market will crash and then we get a V-shaped recovery. President Trump will tariff the aliens. Don't you get it? It's all a joke. It's all a stage. It's all a stage. And these guys know what they're doing. They're creating a lot of distractions, a lot of chaos while they go clean up the streets. Buying the best assets, buying the best businesses, the best real estate, taking land. Look at what we just did in Venezuela. You think we're going to stop there? There's so many factors to the greatest transfer of wealth in world history. A lot of people don't even break down half of them. Right? And for me, I've tried to explain to everybody, not everybody gets on the right side of this thing. And it is our duty and our objective here with this platform to make sure that each and every person that listens to me figures out how to get on the right side of the transfer of wealth. Right? And I'm not the only person that's going to help you get there. I just try to do everything in my power to get you in that direction. Hopefully I can get you across the finish line with me. Not everybody's going to make it. Not everybody's going to receive the message. Some people hear Trump, tune out. Some people hear aliens, they tune out. As our good friend Jay said at the start of the show, they're figuring out how to divide America. I'll add, they're figuring out how to divide this planet. Meanwhile, they're coming to bring order to the chaos. And my whole thing that I've been saying here is we need to be the ones bringing order to the chaos. Bring order to your family. It starts here at home. Bring order to your business. Order to your community. And collectively, let's bring some order to our country. Okay? So the two scenarios are we get black swan, Trump's tariffs are deemed illegal, unemployment numbers come out tomorrow. We'll see how that impacts the markets. I have my buy order sitting at $1.66. You know, I commented in my Discord group today. I said, what do? We set our limit orders. We grab our Bible and we grab our popcorn. It's that simple. And we sit back and enjoy the show. And maybe we grab a couple other preparations as well too. I love freedom seeds. I got into freedom seeds before I started stacking my silver. I like to have a little garden going just for fun, just to get the kids out in the dirt. But you never know. You know. And on the flip side of whatever chaos they unleash on us, we know what their solution's going to be. We saw the playbook in 2020, and so don't miss it this time. Don't get caught up in this is the end of the world. That's why I said, I will laugh. I will start a live show when the aliens come, and we're going to do a live show where we're going to pour up an adult beverage and we're going to have a good laugh. And we're going to, what are you buying right now during the alien invasion? We're not going to be buying what they're trying to sell us on the television. We're going to be buying the assets that are real. And that's an extreme example to get my point across. Just like in 2020, the money printers go burr like never before. The rates drop to zero or lower than where we're at right now. We're going to see mortgage rates dropping down into the 5s on average if this continues. You know, President Trump's plan to buy back $200 billion worth of mortgage bonds. They're willing to sacrifice the stock market to save bonds. Absolutely. Because they know that the bonds is what runs our real economy, our debt market. And they're going to open up the liquidity like never before as well too. And so make hay while the sun shines. This is the best opportunity to be investing in these markets. There is so much in front of us to invest in during this fourth industrial revolution. The chaos actually works in our favor, not that we hope for it, not that we wish for it. I'm very adamant about that. I see that some people actually want chaos to happen because they think that it, which, you know, it does because we're not fazed by it. In our model, the only thing that moves is a motivated seller. And so as more people get scared, more motivated sellers present themselves for us to go buy businesses, for us to go buy real estate, for us to go buy assets, precious metals, digital assets. The more motivated sellers we have, the better we do, the more we eat. And at the end of the day, everything that we do is legal, moral, and ethical. That's the standard that we hold. Some guys aren't like that. Some guys, they do some bad stuff. And they have no intentions of giving back, building more, and providing value to the communities. For us, it's quite different. And that's why you guys are here, because you resonate with that message. We keep you focused on what matters most and what we can control. And so in tonight's message, I just wanted to get across the point that, sure, they can do the Trump tariff deal tomorrow. We could see something pop off in the Middle East. Russia, Ukraine's heating up again. It could be a number of things. You prepare the same way regardless of what the black swan event's going to be. And if we don't get it, well, then we just continue to the upside. So either way, get these assets, get as much of them as possible, protect them, get some good professionals on your team for legal and estate planning, and insulate yourself against the chaos that is coming. Focus yourself amidst all of these distractions and the chaos in front of us. Focus yourself on what you can take advantage of. With that being said, I want to open it up for rapid fire Q&A. Thank you everybody for stopping by. Yeah, it needs to get to 3%. I don't know if it's getting down to 3%. The aliens have to come for us to get rates back down to zero again. No, not that it's impossible or not going to happen as a guarantee, but we need a big one to drop. We need some motherships to arrive. It is possible. No, don't worry about the noise out there. There's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of fake news out here. There's a lot of people claiming things that aren't true out here. We keep it real with you guys. I want to... Okay. I just had somebody accidentally join me on TikTok. Can you move crypto in and out of iTrust Capital? Yes. The thing about iTrust Capital is their premium custody account only allows you to cash out to your bank. So it's part of the closed loop system. And I appreciate you for mentioning it. Now is a good time for us to mention our sponsor, iTrust Capital. You can buy and sell crypto, gold, and silver within your IRA account. Now, you can also roll over your 401k, TSP, 403b, 457, or other retirement account into an IRA with iTrust Capital and start getting an exposure to crypto today. When you use my link down below, you will get a $100 funding bonus. But they have the two products. So they have the IRA product, which is sweet, right? Allows you to get your retirement funds exposed to crypto and precious metals. And then they have the PCA, which is the premium custody account as well. Now, by design, they don't allow you to get crypto out of that because it's their closed loop system. So it's a security measure. The only way to get anything out of that account is dollars to your bank account. So you need to know that going in when you use that product of theirs, that it's, crypto and money in and only US dollars out to your bank account as a security measure. When I had their CEO, Kevin, on my show, he explained as an example that you could leave your laptop with all of your crypto and your accounts open on the table there at a coffee shop. And the only thing that somebody would be able to do is go move dollars to your bank account. That's all they could do. And so it's kind of a dummy-proof system or model for investing in crypto, which a lot of people need. I mean, you just saw all the issues with Ledger. And so for me, it's about having some self-custody if you are able to. For some people, it's not an option. They don't trust themselves with the tech, or at some point, you just have too much money, right? I wouldn't want to be keeping tens of millions of dollars on a ledger, like one cold wallet or even a couple cold wallets, and it's all on you to defend the castle and all of your crypto net worth. So at a certain point, you need to have institutional grade custody. And this is why I've partnered up with iTrust Capital, is they provide free institutional grade custody. They have a very secure model for the PCA. And then also the IRA product, that was the main driver of why I wanted to work with them. And by the way, I talked with them a couple of days ago, and some of the things that they're working on are very exciting. They're working on yield for XRP. They're working on the ability to lend against your XRP and Bitcoin. They're working on bringing RLUSD to the platform, and you'll be able to start earning, probably about 4 to 5%, comparable to other platforms on your RLUSD. And then they're also rolling out the youth accounts as well too. So I'm going to create a couple IRAs for myself, my wife, and then the kids will have the youth accounts as well. And I'm very excited to be partnered up with them and then to start using their products myself as well. So they're linked up down below, and you'll get a $100 funding bonus if you use my link. But that's my trifecta. My trifecta, my good friend Mark Kohler talks about the trifecta. My trifecta, though, for investing in digital assets and protecting them is have his firm, KKOS, set up your trust, your LLCs, your S-Corps, all of your entities, and your estate planning. And then use iTrust Capital for your retirement accounts in their IRA product. If you want to use their PCA account too, that's a great product as well. And then for trading and the platform that I have the most amount of my XRP on right now is Caleb and Brown. And the thing that's great about both of them is they're free institutional grade custody. But let's get into rapid fire Q&A. Can you move crypto in and out of Caleb and Brown? Yeah, and completely for free. See, a lot of people think that, it's going to cost you to move crypto in and out. I send XRP into Caleb and Brown, cost me nothing. It sits there, cost me nothing. If I move it out, cost me nothing. So you only pay Caleb and Brown when you trade on their platform. And the recent cryptos that I've picked up, CC and ZBCN, I was able to get them at a better rate compared to other platforms. So they're just great at sourcing liquidity, especially for cryptos that are smaller in size. Will Canton Network be a big deal? Yeah, I don't know if it's all hype or if it's for real. I have loaded up on Canton just to hedge my bets, and I'm still learning about the project as we speak. So I'm going to have another update on Canton here shortly. Thoughts on G Treasury, Ripple, buying Slovakia? Yeah, Barry, I think it's massive. I think that it shows that the M&A, that we've seen from Ripple has been industry leading, and they're not done. Now, I don't know all of the partners and everything that Slovakia does, but from what I saw, they're already partnered up with some very big names. And I just saw a great post put out by G Treasury today as well, too. Maybe I can find it here real quick. Yeah, so here's G Treasury has acquired Slovakia, a leader in no-code financial automation for reconciliation and regulatory reporting. Finance teams spend days on manual reconciliation, creating fraud exposure and audit risks. Slovakia transforms these processes from multi-day efforts into minutes-long verification, 100x faster with 98% fewer errors. This extends our no-friction, no-boundaries vision across the entire finance function, delivering enterprise-class automation for treasury, finance, and compliance. But then I saw this post here today where they were basically calling out the banking system. What I gathered from this post was, hey, you guys remember the last time your banking system went bust and the issues that it presented to all of you? Come avoid that by working with us, is what I gathered from this post. If it feels like Treasury is always responding to the next market move, you're not alone. Interest rate shifts, FX volatility, and liquidity pressures can quickly pull teams into a constant fire drill mindset, leaving little time for strategic work. When Silicon Valley Bank collapsed in March of 2023, some Treasury teams stabilized liquidity within hours. The difference was preparation through real-time visibility, tested scenarios, and clear processes already in place. Our latest blog, we break down practical ways treasurers are moving from reaction to control, including how to gain real-time cash and liquidity visibility across banks and regions, use forecasting and scenario planning to anticipate market disruption, and reduce manual work with automation and AI-driven insights. And so the acquisition there was big. Ripple's not done. I know some people were talking recently about them acquiring MoonPay. I don't think that Ripple cares to be retail-facing, but it would be an easy bolt-on acquisition to pick up an exchange here down the road if they wanted to. But I'm very excited to see more acquisitions from Ripple. I do not think that they're done, and I'm expecting some big ones in 2026 as well. Barry, thank you. Educated love when price down and traders went up. Yes, either you're a fundamental investor or you're just trying to get rich quick. And this market lately has been weeding out the get rich quick folks, which is healthy. There's been a lot of the cleaning up of this space over the past year has been very healthy. I'm a fan of it. And it relates to all the fraud that's being exposed. I'm talking about in our country. I like that theme. I like the theme of exposing fraud. I'm a big fan of it. Yeah, let's continue. Appreciate you, Barry. Wealth equals personal sovereignty, power to transcend. That's it. And that's why I'm not just in XRP. Part of my wealth is fully encompassing, right? It's precious metals, it's cash, right? We want dry powder to be able to go on the offense right now. It's not just XRP, but it's other digital assets. I just picked up ZBCN. I just picked up Canton. I just picked up more HBAR. I just picked up Axelar. Waiting, I got a bag of these XRP meme coins. I'm looking at my portfolio right now. If you guys are interested in seeing my holdings, I share them with my Discord group. They're the only people that get to see what I'm holding. I don't give financial advice, but I just, in an effort of transparency, I share all of my positions. I share my exit targets, and then I share coin reviews of other coins that I maybe don't have, but I take a look at them for our community. I go through a checklist of ETFs, digital asset treasury companies. Do they have institutional adoption? And when I say institutional adoption, I mean real institutional adoption, not faking it and fake it till you make it like most of these actors out here in crypto. And then I go through tokenomics, and then we take a look at low targets and high targets on the technical analysis, and I add a few additional comments as well there. So if you're looking to get access to that, that's one of the resources or a few of the resources there that are included in the Discord group as well. And we're also going to be having a meetup for our Discord community coming up here in Vancouver. So if you're looking to get tapped in for that, if you're in the Vancouver or up in Canada, come on over the 25th and 26th. We're going to be having the meetup the day before up there in Vancouver, and it's going to be just a private group meetup. It's going to be a lot of fun. We do it every year, and I'm super excited to be attending VRIC this year. Is going to be massive. And I'll have Jay, the conference host, on my show next week, so stay tuned for that one. Brad Garlinghouse for president. He is a real one. How is the XRP yield coming? Yeah, Thomas, all of the people that we're partnered up with are working on XRP yield right now, and they're actually working on it with Ripple. So Caleb and Brown's working on XRP yield. I Trust Capital is working on XRP yield. I've also invested some into Flare, right? All of my Flare I've deployed into the Flare ecosystem, and then I've also minted some FXRP, and I've deployed that into their ecosystem as well too. And so I'm going to do a follow-up on yield. And, you know, as I've said, he who has the gold makes the rules. And in this case, he who has the XRP is going to make the rules. We're going to determine what we're willing to accept from all of these providers. There's many different ways that the yield is being generated. There's many different ways that these projects will structure fees that will custody your crypto while you have it with them. I think that Flare is the most decentralized way, that is probably the safest way, where your XRP is still on the XRP ledger in a vault that they create, and then you get a representation of your XRP over on Flare. I'm still just figuring out how and what is the best way to generate yield over in the Flare ecosystem. I've put some of it into liquidity pools, some into lending pools. I don't know if I've done any Flare time series oracles. I'm still learning. And Flare's been bleeding out so bad for Flare. But I'm hoping that and I do expect it to recover, and it's going to print a few multiples in my opinion. You know, it went all the way back down to a penny. I still think that this sucker's going 5 to 10 cents with ease. That's bearish. And if it can't achieve that, something big is wrong. But I expect it to do that at the very bare minimum here in 2026. So bullish on Flare. Still learning about their ecosystem. But that was a great model. Doppler is a more centralized model. And then we're watching others to see what they can provide. But I agree, Brad Garlinghouse would be a great president. I do think that he's presidential material. Yeah. Michael, thank you. If I put my XRP into iTrust, you're now limited because you can't stake it in the future. You're not able to collect passive income from it. They're actually working on that right now. And so right now you can stake Ethereum, you can stake Solana, and you can do that in their IRA product and their PCA product. So as they bring yield on your XRP, you'll be able to do that in the IRA and the PCA account as well too. So right now they're not offering yield, but the big thing, I've said this, and I appreciate the due diligence that I Trust Capital is doing, that Caleb and Brown is doing. They're working with Ripple on this, and I believe that when they finally come out with a yield offering, it's going to be sustainable. It's going to be very clear how it's being generated, and it's going to be very safe. And so I think that, you know, this is not a matter of let's be the first ones to be bringing yield to the XRP community, but let's do it right, and let's be sustainable, and let's provide returns to the people here for, you know, a long period. I'm not trying to get 10, 20% on my XRP. You know, 5% sounds great to me. Dennis heard Hugo say in the last 2 to 3 months he expects Flare price to equal XRP. I need to find that video. Not going to happen. I love the enthusiasm. I would love to see that happen. It's not, but it's great to stay positive. You know what I'm saying? I'd love to see XRP at $1,000 too. You know what I'm saying? I would love to see Flare go up to a couple bucks. Not in 2026. Unless Hugo's cooking up something that I don't know about. Maybe he is. I did get a chance to finally meet Hugo at Ripple Swell. I went to the Flare meetup. It was at some little hole-in-the-wall bar, which was cool. I like, you know, it's always fun when we get packed in there with the XRP family having a good time. But I went to go see Hugo, and at that point he had had a few adult beverages, and so I talked to some other people on the team about, you know, collaborating with them down the road, and so I anticipate that we'll be doing that. I haven't followed up to get them back on the show. I was waiting to see how some things shook out, but yeah, I'd love to connect with them and see what Hugo's got cooking up there with the team. And it's interesting, you know, it's just one of many other ledgers and projects that has been built around the XRP community. And I think that Ripple's done a good job of not necessarily promoting some of these guys, but allowing them to stay in our circle, right? You know, Flare's one of them. There's a few others there as well too. Even what they've done with Zahao and Hooks, it really is great testing. It's free testing that can all be brought back to the XRP ledger. And even if, you know, these ledgers and these other chains, right, Flare's its own layer one, but it's going to always stay connected to the XRP ledger, and they're focusing on adding utility to XRP, which benefits both of us. So I've always been bullish on Flare. I was very frustrated with Flare for not getting the F assets and the, you know, a lot of these things shipped faster, but they finally have delivered, and they did it right. They did it right. Yeah, Michael says, thank you. I will use iTrust now. Yeah, like I said, I'm excited to create my IRA, set some up for my wife and the kids. Yeah, great model there. Did I miss anything about the Clarity Act? So that's another, you know, catalyst that could bring this market back down, is when the Clarity Act doesn't get done and then our government shuts down at the end of this month. Market will come back down, right? So I talked about that on Tuesday's live show. We are going to see a markup vote on the 15th. That's in the committees. So Senate Ag, Senate Banking will both be discussing it. We'll both conduct a markup, talk about the issues that they have. They have to go on public record and vote, but it's just in the committees. Once it passes out of committee, then it goes to a full Senate vote. If approved, then it needs to be reconciled with the House version of the bill. So then they'll do a reconciliation, and then both chambers can vote on the final version, and then it can go to President Trump's desk where it will immediately be signed. Eleanor Terrett says March at the earliest. So I'm expecting our market to go back down either way, no matter what happens. War, bombs, aliens, government shuts down, doesn't shut down. The Clarity Act's not going to get signed this month. And we have a bunch of other catalysts that I just listed off, and others too, that bring our market back down. Yeah. iTrust allows you to deposit funds in your account and you can buy, trade, and swap. Yes. Yes, you can. Yeah. Tomorrow is tariff day. Yep, we talked about that earlier in the live show. Do I think the market nukes tomorrow if tariffs are deemed illegal? Yes, I do. It causes so much uncertainty. See, some people are saying, well, if he can't do tariffs, then, our market's going to be good. There's so much to unwind at this point. And he still will. He has other avenues that he'll be able to issue tariffs against other countries. So it puts a speed bump in his way, but it doesn't stop him, and it just causes a mess. And so I don't know. I mean, I think it's 60-40. I think that the odds are that they're going to say that they're legal. 60-40. I think it's almost a coin flip, but I do think that they are legal, and I think that the Supreme Court will find them legal. And then I think that our markets back off to the races because it's certainty, right? Is Clarity going to pass on the 15th? No. And see, that's where our crypto space gets ahead of ourselves. Is there's a markup vote in the committee, and as I said, there's a process to this, right? We're not even close to having this done on the 15th. Not even close. We're not even close to having this done this month. Eleanor Terrett, and take it from her, not me. She understands this stuff way better. She says March at the earliest for Clarity Act, which tells me no chance here in January. No chance before government shutdown. And with all the chaos unfolding, I would not be surprised at all if they shut down this government again, just to stick it to you know who. No. See, you guys, I wish I could comment on some things that you guys are posting in the chat. I'm not going to comment, but seek truth. Seek truth. Cut through the lies. Cut through the noise. You really got to get to the truth. Okay? And you should be able to tell by now who's full of it. You should be able to tell. It should be crystal clear who's full of it. Okay? I'll leave it at that. Yep. Am I still stacking Axelar? I'm waiting to see the shakeout of the new team that's in control. It looks bullish so far. I regret buying when I did because obviously I'm down bad from when I bought. I bought literally the day before and the day of them announcing that the team was leaving to go to Circle. But now there's another team that's taking over lead development, and they're the same team that's partnering up with Ripple on adding some things to the XRP ledger. They're still connected with XRPL and other chains as well too. So they're still building and still cooking. These types of moments for any crypto just cause a lot of FUD. And with fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you're going to see a big pullback. The market already had a pullback at that moment, so it was like a double whammy. The market pulled back and the core team working on Axelar left. And so it was just a double whammy that beat up Axelar. So I'm down bad on Axelar right now. And this, honestly, is why people are so frustrated with our cryptocurrency space. And to the point that I was making earlier, a lot of these developer guys are not business guys. And a lot of them are still, if somebody comes along and offers them a bigger check, they'll sell out the whole project to go move on to that. And I'm not saying that this is what happened here with Axelar. It's just creating uncertainty and doubt is enough to bring down a project to its knees. And that's what happened with Axelar. Right. And the team maybe could have done that transition better. But at this point, it is what it is. And so now we just got to see, okay, is Axelar still an ecosystem that's going to be used? Here's the thing. Axelar is in a competitive space as far as it's an interoperability play. So you have Axelar, you have Wormhole, you have all these other layer 2s on Ethereum. You have Archax. You have there's multiple other interoperability plays. So it's kind of become a competitive space. Axelar was one of those where it's just like, okay, we need to get some exposure to interoperability. I went for Axelar. Wormhole's been bleeding, and there's a bunch of other ETH layer 2s. And for me, I thought that Axelar's connections with Ripple and others had it uniquely positioned to actually get some real deals done. So that's why I made that bet, but we'll see if it recovers or not. I'm not investing any more in the project at this point, but I went in heavy. Right before it pulled back. Any price targets on ZBCN this year? The price targets that I had for last year pretty much stand. I did share updated price targets with my Discord group earlier today. And, it's still, I think that we could see 100% upside very quickly on ZBCN. And that's my low target. That's my FUD bearish target is 100% upside from here. Which is funny because a lot of people hear 100% upside in crypto and they say, well, that's not enough. That's not enough of an opportunity. I saw somebody today say that it's already too high. Well, relative to where it was at last year, yeah, it's higher. You're having to pay a higher price, but I bought and sold it last year. I'm buying it again right now. And I think that it can easily go to a penny. See, it's got 100 billion tokens. The token unlocks conclude in March. Has all this utility that's building out. It has a unique niche in the payroll solutions. Real business with the cards that they use to buy back the tokens, creating deflationary pressure. And it's a very small market cap, so it's not going to take much in inflows to pump Zebek. And so even at a penny, it's still only at $1 billion market cap. So I think it's a great opportunity. Thank you for your positive comments, guys. I appreciate you. No, people want me to get along with guys. I can't be friends with some of these people in this space. I was thinking about this earlier today. That if you knew what I knew about this crypto space and about some of these players, you wouldn't be able to sleep at night either. I don't want to talk about it more other than because I just want to stay focused on our program and our platform. But I've seen these guys since 2021. I've exposed guys that did the largest rug pull in 2022. I've been doing this for years. And all these guys wanted me to work with them. And, back in 2022, or it was 21 or 22, I forget. Probably 21 because it was the bull run. But it was the Crypto Knights group. I mean, they did a $2 million rug pull on Evolved Apes. I don't even want to bring this up again, but to get my point across and show you guys what we're up against. The only bigger rug pull that year was from Lil Uzi Vert, the rapper. Some of you guys might not know who the heck I'm talking about. But I've seen these cats come and go. And let's just all get along. If you knew, you would understand. What about iTrust? Love them. Do you have any questions? iTrust said I can't go to an external wallet once they have custody. Yeah, I mean, you have to understand what that product is. The PCA product, that's a very unique product. It's probably the most secure model for storing crypto, honestly. There's no way to hack the crypto. There's just no way to get the crypto back out. So it's, that's the only issue with it is you can't get your crypto out. But you would be able to sell and then buy your crypto back. But I tell folks it's a great product if you know that you need to sell off, like, let's say you want to sell off 10,000 or 100,000 XRP in the next year. Well, throw it in there and you're not going to be paying any AUM fees. It's going to be free the entire time. And then when you do go to sell, they got a 1% transaction fee. And they might have a little bit of spread on that, but it's a 1% fee plus, a little bit of spread. And so if you know that you're going to sell off the assets in the next year, this is a great model, right? You can put it in institutional grade custody for free, and then it's a 1% transaction fee when you go to sell. And you already know that that's a bag of XRP or a Bitcoin or whatever it's going to be that you are going to sell to fiat and pull to your bank. So I think it's a great product for that. Or if you just don't trust yourself to store the crypto, right? Instead of buying an ETF where you're going to pay fees, you could buy, in the PCA account and not have to pay a dime in fees or institutional custody. Can I transfer XRP directly into Caleb and Brown? Yes, JB. Yep, absolutely. Comments on Ripple using Amazon AWS AI for XRPL. Kendra Hill, not the fake Kendra Hill that's out here pretending to be a Riddler. Speaking of pretenders and people playing around out here, I don't believe that that's the real Kendra Hill that's still posting right now. The real Kendra Hill back in the day said that Amazon had 5 billion XRP allocated to them. Who knows? Who knows? But no, I'm excited to see them acknowledging that partnership. A lot of people use AWS, so it's not really a big deal to use AWS. It doesn't mean that Amazon is like adopting your technology. It means you're using their services. But that we knew about that for years. And then we've always been speculating on that partnership and what could materialize from it. I think that there's something there, though. I definitely think that there's something there. I think that Amazon is going to probably implement some sort of wallet or partner with somebody like a Ripple or others that will enable that. And so you'll be able to pay your Amazon with XRP. You'll be able to, use crypto on their platform. And I bet that's coming here soon. Yeah, very big deal. It's the AI. Yeah. And I'm excited to see what Ripple does in the AI space. The XRP ledger, the code that we have and everything is already pretty solid. But utilizing AI, I'll leave it up to these developers. They're going to cook up a lot of great stuff for us. That's the power of having so much capital at Ripple and so much power and resources that they can deploy to these types of initiatives, to this development. And so, yeah, I'm very excited to see where that goes. Somebody said we got some things blowing up right now. Wow. It really is, huh? Okay, and I like this flow. This account right here has been really nice. XRP liquidity issued to Gemini 1, now holding 98 million 98 million RLUSD. And I just saw Gemini's offering, I think, 4% on RLUSD. I've been using the Gemini credit card. Love it. This news just came in. Trump says U.S. forces will begin special operations and land strikes on Mexican soil. So that just came out. This person says, I spoke with someone close to the tariff decision that suggested the most likely outcome in his opinion. SCOTUS will determine that Trump exceeded his powers through IEEPA tariffs, but they will let the tariffs stand to avoid potential chaos and economic problems that unraveling them could cause. They will, however, forbid Trump from using IEEPA to levy tariffs in the future. There's a precedent from SCOTUS on an immigration issuer earlier in the term. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit further to see what the legality is, what the legal theory is on that. And see, this is where it's important to listen to the comments directly. President Trump said we were going to start now hitting land with regard to the cartels. The cartels are running Mexico. So, the media does such a terrible job of running the headline, oh, Trump says we're striking Mexico. You actually look at what he said, strategic strikes against bad people, bad actors. This is what we're up against here in 2026, and it doesn't appear to be getting better anytime soon. In fact, the AI news, the AI YouTubers, the AI, the good and the bad that comes with AI. Incredible. Amazon rug pulled a chat program via AWS Trump was using. Conservative people are nervous about them. Yeah. Thomas, yeah, it's true. It's true. We just saw World Liberty Financial filed for a bank charter. We know a lot of the reason why the Trump family is getting involved in crypto is because they said they were debanked. It's an issue that brings a lot of people to the digital asset space. And as we've always said, you have people that have been debanked, and that's bad. But potentially even worse, you have billions of people across the planet that are underbanked or unbanked completely. You have 1 billion plus people that aren't even tapped into the internet yet. And so, I put out a video on this a week or two ago talking about how, Starlink is now tapping in tens of millions of people across the planet with potential to bring hundreds of millions of people online very soon. And ultimately, we still have over 1 billion. The last estimate that I read was somewhere between 1 and 2 billion people still don't have any internet access on the planet. And so just bringing them online taps them into this new financial system. And, we're looking at the addressable market right now is already in the quadrillions. How do you account for bringing on another billion people into the financial system, giving them access to these markets? We are still very early. Apparently, they're going crazy in Minnesota too. Getting bad visuals out of Iran on the timeline. Yep. Yep, this is the developing situation. So, guys, in closing, let's stay tapped in here over the next 24 hours. I'm going to be out of the office tomorrow, so I'll be reporting on the go. Still going to be paying attention. Just have a little ticker checkup tomorrow. So I'm going to go get the ticker. I got the update last month, and tomorrow we're going to go get it checked up again, see how it's doing. I got the 2 bull valves working in there now. And so we're going to be watching this over the next 24 hours. Unemployment data comes out, Trump tariff ruling from the Supreme Court, Iran is a tinderbox, Russia striking Ukraine. Trump says we're moving on Mexico. We already took Venezuela and getting ready to move on potentially others. Apparently, we got a good conversation and a good response from the president of Colombia. But it's hot out here in the streets in America. A lot of frustration out there. A lot of reason to be frustrated. And at the end of the day, I urge us to remain peaceful. And I urge us to stay focused on what we can control and to channel our frustration and anger into positive investments in ourselves, in our business, in our family, and into our investments so that we can win like never before in 2026. I am so bullish on what we're going to accomplish in this community in the next 12 months. So stay tuned with us. Help us out by liking this video, sharing out our content far and wide. All of our community resources are available at zachrector.com, and I greatly appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with real updates as this situation develops. God bless you all.